Hi, kindergartners. Today I want to read you a story called Snowflake Bentley. It has gotten a gold seal called the Caldecott Award Medal, and it means that it's a very special book. Um, this is written by Jacqueline Briggs Martin and illustrated by Mary Azarian. And it's interesting. I think most of the illustrations are made by woodcut and print. Let me see if they say something about that in the back of this. No, but you'll notice the pictures are very different. It's a very interesting oh, art form. Um, Block print is what it's called, and it takes a lot of time to do. Um, I don't know, it could have been silk screen, but it looks to me to be block print. My mom used to do this with us. We would make Christmas cards as kids and do block prints. She was an artist as well. Now, this is a story. Snowflake Bentley is about a man who had one very unique interest in life, and he pursued it his whole lifetime, entire lifetime spent on one small part of God's creation or nature, I should say, and that is the snowflake and the uniqueness of it. In fact, I have photographs that I'll show you later on, maybe during our time together. I'll show you the photographs of some of the snowflake pictures that he took. Anyway, let's go ahead and read the story. Snowflake Bentley. And here is a picture of him dreaming and looking out his window as a young man or young boy. It was a long time ago when this took place. In the days when farmers worked with ox and sled and cut the dark with lantern light, there lived a boy who loved snow more than anything else in all the world. And here he is, walking toward his house from the barn in the early morning or early night. Willie Bentley's happiest days were snowstorm days. He watched the snowflakes fall on his mittens, on the dried grass of the Vermont farm fields, on the dark metal handle of the barn door. He said snow was as beautiful as butterflies or apple blossoms, and I agree. Nothing prettier than a beautiful snowfall, a cold day. Here's a little side note. Wilson Bentley was born February 9th, 1865, on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, between Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield, in the heart of the snow belt, where the annual snowfall is about 120 inches. I think that's about 12 feet tall. That is a lot of snow. I'll leave this page for you to look at. I'll do what I do at school, so you can have something to see while I read. Okay, let's see if that gets on there. There it is. He could knit butterflies and show them to his older brother, Charlie. He could pick apple blossoms and take them to his mother, but he could not share snowflakes because he could not save them. Willie's mother was his teacher until he was 14 years old. He attended school for only a few years. She had a set of encyclopedias. Willie said, I read them all. My daddy read a whole set of encyclopedias. It makes you really smart. And there they are. What did I say? What did I miss over here? Oh, the snowflakes. He wanted to save them. Their intricate patterns were even more beautiful than he'd imagined. He expected to find whole flakes that were the same, that were copies of each other, but he never did. Willie decided he must find a way to save snowflakes so others could see their wonderful designs. For 3 winters, he tried drawing snow crystals, but they always melted before he could finish. He learned that most crystals had 6 branches, though a few had 3. For each snowflake, the 6 branches were alike. I found that snowflakes were masterpieces of design, he said. No one design was ever repeated. When the snowflake melted, just that much beauty was gone without leaving any record. Starting at age 15, he drew 100 snow crystals each winter for 3 winters. So he spent his time really working on one thing. When he was 16, Willie read of a camera with its own microscope. Oh, if I had a camera, I could photograph snowflakes, he told his mother. Well, Willie's mother knew he would not be happy until he could share what he had seen. Ah, fussing with snow, such foolishness, his father said. Still, he loved his son. When Willie was 17, his parents spent all their savings and bought the camera. It was taller than a newborn calf and cost as much as his father's herd of 10 cows. Willie was sure it was the best of all cameras. The camera made images on large glass negative. Its microscope could magnify a tiny crystal from 64 to 3,600 times its actual size. So that was a big. There's the camera sitting on that stand, and there's his dad with the cows. Even so, his first pictures were failures, no better than shadows, yet he would not quit. Mistake by mistake, snowflake by snowflake, Willie worked through every storm. Winter ended, the snow melted, and he had no good pictures. He waited for another season of snow. One day, in the second winter, he tried a new experiment, and it worked. Willie had figured out how to photograph snowflakes. Now everyone can see the great beauty in a tiny crystal, he said. Willie's experiment, he used a very small lens opening, which let in only a little light reach the negative of the film. But he kept the lens open for several seconds, up to a minute and a half. He learned, too, that he could make the snow crystals show up more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negative around the crystals. This etching meant extra hours of work for each photograph, but Willie didn't mind. So he was doing something very unique, boys and girls. But in those days, guess what? Nobody cared. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow in Vermont, just as common as dirt, they said. We don't need pictures. Willie said the photographs would be his gift to the world. Sometimes God gives a rare person a really rare insight to some wonderful thing, and nobody else understands, but God knows, and that person knows, and it becomes a magnificent thing for humankind. Let's see what he does. While other farmers sat by the fire or rode to town with horse and sleigh, Willie studied snowstorms. He stood at the shed door and held out a black tray to catch the flakes. And there he is, catching snowflakes. When he found only jumbled broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again. He waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray, the snow would melt. If he twitched a muscle as he held the snow crystal on the long wooden pick, the snowflake would break. He had to work fast, or the snowflake would evaporate before he could slide it into place and take its picture. Some winters he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures. Some winters he made hundreds. He learned each snowflake begins as a speck, much too tiny to be seen. Little bits, molecules of water attached to the speck to form its branches. As the crystal grows, the branches come together and trap small quantities of air. Many things affect the way these crystal branches grow. A little more cold, a little less wind, or a bit more moisture will mean the different shaped branches. Willie said that was why, in all his pictures, he never found two snowflakes alike. And here he is, taking pictures. The best snowstorm of his life occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the 2-day storm. He called the storm a gift from King Winter. All right. Willie so loved the beauty of nature, and look what he does in this picture. In the summertime, when there's no snowflakes, he's doing something else. He loved the beauty of nature. He took pictures in all seasons. In the summer, his nieces and nephews rubbed coat hangers with sticky pitch from spruce trees. Then Willie could use them to pick up spider webs jeweled with water drops and take their pictures. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper to a flower so he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse that Willie shared with his brother Charlie. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with them. Wow. So he was getting older. I don't think Snowflake Bentley Willie ever got married, but he did have fun with his nieces and nephews. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorite. He gave copies away or sold them for a few pennies. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. He held evening slideshows on the lawns of his friends. Children and adults sat on the grass and watched while Willie projected his slides onto a sheet hung over a clothesline. Many colleges and universities bought lantern slide copies of his photographs and added to their collection each year. Artists and designers used the photographs to inspire their work. So here's the whole lantern show, is what they called it. And there's a picture of one of his snowflakes. He wrote about snow, published his pictures in magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood sky watchers. "You are doing a great work," said a professor from Wisconsin. The little farmer came to be known as the world's expert on snow, the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny on his pictures. Willie said they were treasures in the snow. "I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm," he told a friend. "I never know when I'll find some wonderful prize." Other scientists raised money so Willie could gather his best photographs into a book. When he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published. Still, he was not ready to quit. Even today, those who want to learn about snow crystals begin with Wilson Bentley's book called Snow Crystals. So he did make a book, and it was wonderful. It says by 1926, he had spent $15,000 on his work and received $4,000 from the sale of photographs and slides. That math doesn't add up very well for living on. If you spend $15,000 and you only make $4,000, I think you've lost the money. Here he is. Less than a month after turning the first page on his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard to make more pictures. He became very ill with pneumonia after that walk, and he died 2 weeks later. Look at this blizzard. You can't hardly see anything. And here's Willie walking home. That's too bad. A monument was built for Willie in the center of his town. The girls and boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters the story of a man who loved snow. 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked to set up a museum in honor of the farmer scientist, and his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont, past mountains over the earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know of the icy wonders that land on their own mittens thanks to Snowflake Bentley. And here's kids in Vermont where he lived. So, and there's the monument, the little a testimony to the fact that Wilson Bentley lived there. On the plaque it says, Snowflake Bentley, Jericho's world-famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal to the world the grandeur and mystery of the snowflake, its universal hexagonal shape, and its infinite number of lovely designs. So there you have it. Boys and girls, that was a life spent on one thing, snowflakes. Sometimes when you spend your life on one thing, you really do a great job with it. And here's some real pictures of Snowflake Bentley, Wilson Bentley, his camera, some of the photographs that he made of beautiful snowflakes. And it says, well, I won't say what it says. We can read that at school or tomorrow. But it's all about his thoughts about how lovely the world of snow is. And it is. I know a lot of you like that movie Frozen. That's a lot about snowy days and frozen weather. But this is the man who really did do all the first photography. And I'll show you some of those pictures tomorrow because this is a long book to read. I hope you enjoyed that. It did win awards for being so uniquely done and written. Maybe someday, if you're in Vermont, you'll see that monument to Wilson Bentley, better known as Snowflake Bentley. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. We are going to look at snow. Tomorrow, I'll put some of the snowflakes up. And if I can manage it in this setting, I will do an experiment with molecules and hot, cold, and tepid water, which means neutral. It's not hot or cold. And see how the molecules have to move when snow comes. All right. Have a great day. Bye, boys and girls.